What's going on, growers? Justin here with Sabbath Gardens, and today we're going to talk about building raised beds. And I know I got a lot of questions about raised beds versus the in-ground bed that we built in the last video, so we're going to go ahead and build one today. And actually I'm very fortunate because I have some friends, very close friends, that live just a few houses down from me, Paul and Holly, and they actually need a raised bed. So I'm going to build one right here on the side of their house and show you how I do it and walk you through the process and show you exactly what products I'm using and exactly what it costs. So first, let me go ahead and walk you over there and we'll take a look at what we're working with. Hey beauty, hey beauty. Alright, so here we are on the side of my neighbor's house. There's Paul right there. And we're gonna build a raised bed right here on the side of their house. They're very fortunate because the situation of their house actually causes the sun to go right across here, so they're gonna get all day sun on this side of their property. So we decided we're gonna go ahead and build a raised bed right here next to the fence. It's gonna be 8 feet by 4 feet, and I'll walk you through what products I'm using and exactly the process here in a second. But the first thing I want to do is go ahead and build this frame. And so in order to do that, you want to find level ground, preferably concrete, to put the screws together so that it's not all wonky shaped. So I'm actually going to come around to the front of the house here, use the driveway over here, screw it all together, bring the frame back over here, and then we'll take it from there. Alright, so we went ahead and grabbed some concrete here so that the ground is flat and level, and laid out our pieces how we kind of want them. The first thing we're going to do is actually throw a pilot hole through the ends of each piece and then put a screw through it so that the wood doesn't split, and we'll show you how that's done here. By the way, these are 2 by 6 by 8s, and I use untreated, non-pressure treated wood because you don't want those chemicals going down into your soil. So you want to get the non-treated stuff so that it will not put any kind of chemicals into your garden. So I'll go ahead and show you how to screw these pieces together, and then we'll move the frame back over to the other side and start adding the cardboard. By the way, I'm gonna give you the pricing for all the different products I'm using, but I did pick up 1 pack of 2.5-inch exterior screws to put this whole piece together, and those seem to work just fine so far for the other beds I've built. And that's it. If you want to build your beds exactly the same way I'm doing it, using the exact same materials, then what you're going to need to do this today is 3 2 by 6 by 8 foot pieces of untreated lumber, 5 bags of raised bed organic mix, organic raised bed mix from Lowe's. You're going to need about 3 bags of the no float cypress blend, which I'm a huge fan of. I used it in my garden, has been very successful with it. And 2 bags of black cow composted cow manure. And then of course you're also going to need some cardboard. And again, make sure you remove all the tape off the cardboard if they were previously used packing boxes, so that that tape doesn't break down into your soil. And last but not least, I'm using some peat moss today to help retain the moisture. We'll talk about that some more in just a moment. All right, so originally we were actually gonna put this bed on the other side of the fence, but we realized that the ground is so uneven right there that it creates a lot of big gaps underneath this level frame. So you can't actually get around that by using shims or other pieces of wood to fill those gaps in before you put the dirt in. But what we'd rather do is just find more level ground. So we just moved it over a little bit. We have plenty of space in this area as well. The frame is good. The second step is the same as the steps from the previous video when you don't have a raised bed, and that is to put down that cardboard to start killing the grass and feeding the soil and bringing in the microorganisms. So let me go ahead and start laying down some cardboard. If you need instructions on how to break down cardboard and how to lay it down, that's in the previous video, but for this one we're just going to do it real quick. All right, now we're going to go ahead and lay down our cardboard. All right, now we can go ahead and start building our layers on top of the cardboard. We've laid it all down. Make sure we cover up as many light spaces as we can. And then we're gonna cover it up with a layer of, sorry it's upside down, this organic peat moss. Now peat moss actually holds up to 3 times its own weight in water and does a slow release effect and releases moisture to the root systems as they need it. So it's a very good compound to mix into your soil to make sure that there's a lot of moisture retention going on underneath the soil. This is about a half bag right here. I already used some of it. This is a $12 bag. I'm gonna be using about $6 worth of peat moss right now. Next product I'll be using is an organic raised bed mix. I'm gonna go ahead and throw about 5 bags on top of this peat moss and then water it in as well. Last but definitely not least, I'm using 2 bags of black cow composted cow manure to really feed the soil and give all the nutrients an extra boost inside this box to make the plants really just explode. And finally, the star of the show, our no-float cypress blend mulch. Once again, to protect our soil, retain the nutrients, and create a very robust permaculture system underneath the soil. 3 bags. Two bags, actually. I got way too much again. Well, not way too much, just 1 bag too many. And that's it, the bed is done. It's that simple, literally. I'll show you some clips of the growth I'm having at my house, the growth we're experiencing over there. It's phenomenal. The plants are just doing super well. So the question that most of you are going to have next is, how do you plant into this mulch? And that's actually quite simple. I'll show you real quick. Literally all you're going to do when you want to plant in this area is literally just pull back some of the mulch here. You're just going to make a finger hole because it's very soft. You're going to plant straight into that, close it back up. You can use some more black cow, some more organic soil around it to side dress it. I like to use black cow to side dress, and then literally you just move the soil back, or the mulch right back around it, have your little plants popping up out, and you should not experience any weed issues or any other kind of weird issues. Literally underneath this layer, underneath this box, everything is blacked out, covered up, so no weeds. Lots of moisture retaining capabilities in there with that layer of peat moss. Again, it holds up to 3 times its own weight in water, slow feeds the roots, the layer of organic soil for the roots to go crazy in, and of course that black cow composted manure. Every time you water your plants, it's filtering through that black cow manure and fertilizing naturally the plants underneath. Additionally, you're not going to have to water as often because of this mulch layer. It's going to help retain so much moisture underneath there that you don't need to water as much. It stays nice and moist underneath. The cardboard layer on the very bottom will break down over time. It will become like a soft mush, break down and feed the worms and feed the soil, and the roots of the plants will actually bust right through it and go right into the deeper soil if they need it without any issues whatsoever. Another thing people like to do, some will actually go ahead and plant before they apply the mulch. Some people think that's easier to line up your plantings and get everything set up, but then you have to hand dress the mulch very carefully around your plants. I prefer to just go ahead and put the mulch on, get the bed ready, and then when the day comes to plant, just come move the mulch aside, plant right into it. To me, that seems like the easiest way. So altogether, I used about 4 bags of raised bed mix, that organic raised bed mix. Only used about 1.5 bags of that no float mulch, believe it or not. 2 are on the bed right now, but it's pretty full, probably fuller than it needs to be. So maybe 2 bags at the very most. 2 bags of black cow composted manure, and 1/2 brick of peat moss. So let's go over the pricing for each of those things so you can figure out how much it's going to cost you to build your raised bed today. All right, here we go. Total expenses here. We have the 3 bags of no float cypress, the 6 bags of organic raised bed mix, and 2 bags of composted black cow. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. And for those 3 items, it comes to a total of 64 bucks. And then for the lumber, I had 3 2x6x8s and 1 little box of nails that came to 18 bucks for a grand total of $82 altogether. I did not, however, have to buy the peat moss. So if you do have to buy a brick of peat moss, it's $12. I used about $6 worth today. So altogether, if you buy a whole brick of peat moss as well, it'll run you about 94 bucks for a permanent raised bed that will do you a lot of good. So 100 bucks might seem like a lot of money for a raised bed, but one thing you have to keep in mind is that that raised bed is going to literally last forever. It's going to last years and years and years and produce so many different yields of crop, so many different pounds of food. The raised bed I have has already produced over 5 pounds of food just in the last month and a half, 2 months. And it's going to just keep going and keep going. You can just keep replanting. If you plant seasonal plants that eventually create fruit and then, or vegetables and then die, that's okay. You can pull them up and plant right back into the same spot and just continue the cycle. Worst case scenario, your mulch will start to break down and compost into your raised bed. That's okay. You just come along later, grab another bag of mulch and add a new layer on top as it starts to thin out, and continue to protect the soil, continue to feed the soil, and you're just going to see the soil quality improve over the months and years as time goes on. Additionally, the soil underneath the raised bed that is being completely protected and covered and weighed down with all that new soil is going to improve in quality dramatically over the next couple of months and years. Lots of microorganisms and worms are going to come in. That cardboard is going to break down, and eventually that bed will just be an awesome permanent bed that's going to continue to feed you for a long, long time. So to me, it's worth the $100 spent to put together a raised bed if you can afford it. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about how I build my raised beds. Hopefully you guys have just as much success as I've been having with that setup. Also, make sure you join me and check me out on Instagram. My name is justin.sabbathgardens. And of course, if you want to see more videos about how to build your permaculture, your back to Eden garden in a suburban setting, then make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notified when we post. That's it. Shalom, guys.